Alrighty, hello and welcome to another episode of Old School AOT. So today we have a game between I Am Mexico Mike and TPC Chris. So let's hop into it and see. So we have I Am Mexico Mike playing Hades on the top, and yeah, very well known Hades player. Maybe not quite expert level, but very close. Very well known as being a very tough, difficult player, and borderline expert, I would say. So then we have Chris, who is not actually Chris. From the best of what I could determine, this was either Cyclone or possibly Jelani, but I'm leaning towards Cyclone, so we'll call him Cyclone. If anybody knows better, please feel free to say, but definitely not Chris. So yeah, she's garbage, absolute trash player. Anyway, so let's get into it. So here we have the Hades, and the Hades is starting off pretty standard. He's got his hunting dogs, and let's look at our ISIS player. We don't have anything too crazy going on. We just have a pretty standard ISIS build. So looking at our map, we got watering hole with a good bit of hunt. The town centers. Town centers are probably not favoring our Greek player just because his third town center is literally in the middle of the map, which means he's gonna have to fight to get his third. Whereas Cyclone's town center is in a slightly better place, though not great either. So I wouldn't say that this map is really wonderful for either player. They'll both have to fight hard to do well on it. So let's look at Mike's scouting pattern. He has scouted his opponent immediately, but did not actually see much. I guess he just wanted to see where his opponent was, or if there was front gold or something. So that's interesting. Looking over at Cyclone, we're getting a pretty standard ISIS type scouting, where you're getting the obelisk scouting early, taking advantage of those cheaper, faster building ISIS obelisks. It's funny, you almost never see any civilization other than ISIS build the obelisk, even though it can sometimes be useful, just so you can see raiders coming or something, but generally not too popular to see for anyone other than ISIS, or see it built really past the archaic age. Anyway, he's trying to gather wood, and we're getting houses going down to avoid housing, so that's great. Mexico Mike. Looks like he's trying to do a loop, with his scout. Going pretty solid. Continuing to hunt. I wonder where he's going to hunt next. Not really anything back there. What else does he see? He will probably go over here, although that doesn't look too great either. We'll have to see what he decides to do. Maybe he's looking for a better place with his scout. But the scout is harassing the priest, so that's annoying. That's always annoying as an ISIS player when that happens, particularly when there's like a pretty long way back. So this is a long walk back, so that will most likely deny Cyclone any attempt to get an aggressive obelisk up there. He's just getting harassed, so that's not going to happen. The priest is going to have to hang back after that, because oftentimes when the priest gets sent out, particularly if it is healed up, if it gets sent out a second time after something like this, it will just end up being killed. So nobody wants that. And as you can see, that's really retarding his scouting and really denying information on Mexico Mike. So that's really good play by Mexico Mike. Really smart to harass the priest rather than just allow it to continue to go around. And as we see, it seems as though it wasn't happening. I don't know. I thought Cyclone was going to heal the priest, but it seems as though he's going somewhere else, or maybe he is going to heal the priest. He's going up with the priest, I guess, to protect it and heal it, and maybe we'll see some aggression. There was our priest being auto-queued out. Wow, and this is a very quick advance. Going to be a 4. Wow, 4:15 or so advance. So this is very quick. This almost reminded me of some style that a GP would play. So we'll have to see what happens. We got a priest rush coming out, boys. A priest rush. And Mexico Mike is also relatively quick. He should be there at pre-5, which should allow him to get some forces out to deal with it. But he spots the priest rush incoming. He spots the pharaoh, and he's just like, "I'm gonna get the fuck out of here, boys." So yeah, that's good reaction. It was very good that he spotted in time, preventing the priest from really getting the jump on those villagers. And he's trying to make the house here, but the Pharaoh harass is already coming down as priest, so he's going to be forced to back up there, won't be able to make the house. But he will be able to get his 2 heroes out now, which should really fend off this this rush pretty well. And hopefully he won't lose that villager. Hopefully he'll be able to garrison it, you know. Looking at the ISIS player's house, well, base, we don't see the armory yet. And let's see, he does have his Manu, so that's good. This fight is going down. The Sphinx is coming in here and trying to kill him. Well, an archery range goes up, and here we see the standard heroes doing the normal fighting. We got Ajax coming out. And Ajax may be picked off, although he is really damaging the Pharaoh, but it's enough to sort of force his opponent to pull the army back, which, although probably not what he intended, is good for him, since, you know, these priests, they don't really get to kill too much. It's going to be a lot of gold that Cyclone has put into this to not really kill so much, and he's going to lose the Pharaoh too. And losing the Pharaoh is really, really unfortunate. You gotta wait for him to respawn, and whereas your economy's weaker, you know, whereas Mexico can just make Ajax immediately if he wants to. But losing the Pharaoh is a serious hit to Egyptians, so idle there. So if you do get to kill the Pharaoh, or you get an opportunity to, I would almost always recommend to go for it. And there's even a chance if your opponent is bad that if they're not paying attention when their Pharaoh responds, they just go get sit idle by the wood or something. So for a while. So yeah, good play taking the Pharaoh, I must say. So you have this army continuing to pursue the priests back towards the base. Well, the Sphinx comes in for a raid, but Ajax is there, but Sphinx will kill that most likely. And so these priests are being forced back, and Sphinx does not get the villager. Good reaction from Mexico Mike. We do have hunting going down here, so that's a lot of hunt that will allow Cyclone to easily remain in this game. Although it could be stopped if Mexico Mike knew where it was, and he does know where it was. So it's interesting that he hasn't gone there to attack him. He's instead persisting and attacking this priest. And he seems to be retreating too, which I guess he's feeling the pressure from the Sphinx, which is, well, it just shows that just a little bit of pressure can really cause a reaction from the opponent. He's going to try to interrupt the Sphinx here, even though he is pretty sure he's hunting here. So that's really shows how powerful pressure can be. Even if the pressure is literally just your enemy, your opponent chasing around one unit for a while. A lot. You can do a lot, you know. That's why unit control is so important, boys. But now Mexico Mike is like, alright, I gotta stop him from hunting here. They can't let him hunt all game, or I'll just like lose. So Mexico Mike comes in and attacks Cyclone's villagers. Cyclone's making the armory, so we are going to be on the way to heroic, so semi-fast heroic. That's pretty cool, you know. And he did get some good trades here, but this should die because, well, it fought the heroes and nobody wants that. So at least it took a Tuxode with it, you know. That's something. He does not have quite enough food to get heroic, and that is really frustrating. We're having to make a sort of emergency food stop, and we're having a bunch of idle TC time. So nobody wants that. Is ISIS, or just as any god. That's no fun. Mexico Mike, let's see. He's had to resist this pressure, but he's resisted it quite well. And you know, he's doing something interesting. There seems to be almost nobody on wood right now. Not quite sure where that is. Not really an expert Hades player. It's just interesting that he's gathering so much food. While not really producing a big food-based army. So we'll have to see where he goes with that. But you know, he's got the military advantage on the home front, and for right now, Cyclone is very much contained in his base for now. Building this obelisk, I guess, to try to keep his vision up, you know. And we have the last granary going down there, pushing down the granary. We got the hunting, we got the push. Alright, what's this here? Killing the lions preemptively. That's kind of cool. It's like, you know, it's like, oh, I'm gonna need to take this. Why don't I just get ready, put my Migdal down, then I'll take that town center, and there won't be any things to harass me. So that's nice. So Mexico Mike has done something that he's very much known for. He's very much known for this strategy against Egyptian. And I would say he really developed it himself. And I've never really seen anybody else who's that great at pulling it off. Like this is like a one-player only strategy, where he takes the second town center, puts the sentinels down, and then he starts to fortify it. And the idea is this will sort of serve as a big lure, a big armored lure to attract that ancestor slash eclipse, and he'll absorb it here and then be in advantage after the ISIS push and just go on to win the game. So we'll see how well it will work here. You know, he really managed to beat good ISIS players with this strategy. So even though I've never seen it work for anyone else, it's definitely not a new strategy by any means at all. Just a very unconventional one. So we'll see if it works or not. He's moved a lot of villagers onto wood, so you know he won't be short on that for now. And now it appears that gold is a little short. So Mexico Mike really seems to be working hard to manipulate his economy to squeeze every last cent out of it. That's really interesting. And we do have the basic ISIS army coming up here with the chariot archers, priests, scorpion men, excuse me. All that good scary stuff. He's expanded over to here, which is technically vulnerable to a raid, but I guess he figures we won't see one. Although Mexico Mike is doing something here, probably just to protect that wall as it goes up. So here we see the beginnings of this fortification being built up. It's difficult to access. Cyclone is going to need siege to even think about coming in there. You know, maybe some elephants, but definitely siege towers bare minimum. And right now, he doesn't have that, so he's going to have that before he attacks. Which won't be soon, I'd imagine, as we're just continuing to amass chariot archers. Oh no, we're switching to camels. So a Cyclone has switched into camels. Very interesting. I guess he's feeling that he needs to attack soon. So we got a little bit of a fight here. This is not a great fight. All that happened was Mike just appeared to not really control his units. Yeah, and that's the result of it. Not paying attention, lose your hero for free, lose a unit for free. So that's unfortunate, but you know, that stuff does happen. Just, you know, he'd be a little far ahead if that didn't happen, but what can you do? Alright, Mexico Mike, continuing to fortify here. I'm surprised he hasn't made any towers or anything. He's making around on it. Archers making it difficult for siege and ancestors to attack it when the time comes. And the walls could, you know, very much prove they prove very annoying for the ancestor AI, as well as just escaping them. So, we'll see. Cyclone's starting to harass a little bit with his army. I guess he figures that since he has the range advantage, he can push in. And now, for the first time, his siege tower. So we have the first siege whipping out. So you know, we'll see how that goes. Overall, though, you know, this is going to be difficult because we see that Mexico, like number one, he's got the extra hit points, which is the Hades hit bonus, 300 hit points. Just on this, you know, stable alone, that's very good. And then plus that, we got the Mason, so 180 hit points for that. So already, all he has is Masons. And, well, his buildings already have like an extra 500 HP or so, with the town center having an astounding 1,120. So this push is going to have to be strong. I think therein lies the strength of Mexico Mike's strategy. He's this strategy really takes advantage of Hades' #1 bonus, which is the strength of his buildings, you know. So we already see, even though he just has Tuxedos down there, we have Ancestor Slash and Kills going down here, but fortunately, a lot of the ones that are spawning are basically rolled off from the main fight, so it will be some time until they can become engaged in the battle. And in the meantime, despite being very strong, a lot of them are already being hit by units belonging to Mexico Mike who are behind the buildings. So we have the villagers coming out to take down the siege towers, so those siege towers will be history unless Cyclone Mike does very well. And he is killing a few villagers over here, so that's annoying. But so far this attack is not really killing any buildings yet. We are getting a bit of pressure coming in from the siege tower towards the town center, so that's a good start. Let's look. But you know, Cyclone's falling in population, and he only has population equal to Mexico Mike. And Mexico Mike has now just put more towers. Let's look at those towers. Already a 770 HP, so that's a lot. He's killed almost all the units of Chris, except for the small withdrawal that was already on the way. So there is a raid coming down. So I guess Cyclone decided that, oh well, this isn't going to work. I might as well go for a raid. So overall, that was not great for Cyclone putting those 2 god powers into that attack and nothing really happening. Killing a very few units and doing some damage to the town center, killing a wall. Ouch. So, definitely could have used it better than that, and definitely, it must be said that Mexico Mike knows exactly how to exploit what good Egypt players want to do, which is just make this overpowered death ball of doom in the heroic age and just push out with it. But Mike used the map very well to make it not so easy to do that, and made it appear a little bit easy, because there's still space to cast it, just that the space would make it hard to use it. I also think taking the town center, seemed to stress his opponent out a little bit, where Cyclone almost felt like, oh my gosh, I need to do something now because he has my forward town center. But objectively, it's not really as dangerous as it feels like it is, particularly because, you can always just go heroic and reclaim it with one of your big god powers or a good push plus catapults. So definitely, if you fall behind as a town center in Egypt, that's one of the best civilizations to fall behind is. You can use your various attributes, the extra town center population is nice and steal. Or just the mercenaries in general to hold on and do well over the course of the game. So now we have the siege towers coming in from Cyclone again. So he is going to try to push in again. Let's see how Mexico Mike is. He was housed a little bit, but he's still trying to hold on. Try to kill these before they can kill his town center, because that wouldn't be fun. It could still happen. He's only 1, 2, so now there's only 1 left. Looks like he's got it. It just really shows how he's playing the effects of Hades, because any other god in this town center would be dead from all those hits. But since it's Hades, it's still up, it's still running, and he's repairing it. So very, very nice. He doesn't even have the biggest military, but he's Hades. He's relying more on his buildings than military. So very nice. And the military is quite upgraded too. So you can just really see how powerful buildings can be for Hades here in this game, which is, I think, why it's a really interesting game. So Cyclone has moved again into the lead. He's going really heavily into the heavy chariots. I feel that he's going to be able to raid his enemy to death. The only problem being that Mexico Mike, he's protecting his villas decently. So could be harder than he thinks. He's been spotted anyway by Mexico Mike, so the Hippocons are going to go follow some of these. But Cyclone's splitting his army into 2 groups, so that's really effective. Now we have a little fight going down here, inclusive and conclusive. So we have one fight going to attack our wood, or perhaps gold, I imagine. And then we have the other larger group trying to come in, not finding anything, so they're probably going to come in and find more of the same thing. Alright, well, Cyclone has gathered gold here, and that is how he is gathering gold. And, let's see. Mexico Mike is continuing to double down on defending this town center, despite being attacked by raiders here. So it's interesting. I do not currently see his army moving back to fight the raiders, and he seems to be relying on his buildings to fight the raiders, unless he makes a change. So it'll be interesting to see if his army moves forward to fight his enemy while this is going on. However, maybe he is returning. I do see that Toxote is coming back. And perhaps he needs to, as he's under heavy attack there. So the Toxotes are coming in, and yes, they do appear to be heading back home to try to defend against the chariot archers. Of course, they're going to have the simple issue that Toxote speed is 4.0 and chariot archer speed is 5.0. So there's a rather large difference between the two. But we'll see how it goes. And well, actually, a lot of these guys have been killed somehow. Seemed like there was a lot more before, but I guess a lot have died under the tower powerments of Hippocon. So now that whole army is going to be lost, just like the 9th Legion. And, but Cyclone's not taking a minute to fuck around, and while that's going on, he's already moving up siege towers to try to catch his opponent, Mexico Mike, off guard. But, Mexico Mike is a very established and strong late game player, so I don't think this is going to work. He's reacting almost immediately. Um, yeah, so that was great raids by Cyclone, though. He definitely scared Mexico Mike a little bit.
Into you.
So Mexico Mike, Cyclone coming up the front here, he wants something to raid out. Doesn't know what he's gonna find. He's ready to retake his town center. As is Mexico Mike, I'm sure. We'll see what happens. So Chris is coming over to, Cyclone's coming over to take the town center, and simultaneously moving forward a little bit and going for a raid just to try to pull the bulk of the army of Mexico Mike, so maybe Cyclone will be able to take the town center then, but it's already been discovered, which makes it all very difficult. And he is being chased though, so will the army be deployed there to stop that town center? I do not think so. It is going to go up on time. Unless will Mexico Mike reach it in time? It's so close, And he messed up. He did not shoot the town center itself, but the workers, so the town center will be completed. Alrighty, we have Cyclone in the base. It looks like he's going for another raid, but he's immediately being counter-raided and he targeted the tower, so I don't know what that was supposed to do. Unfortunate. Once again, this shell that Mexico Mike has created is just holding the game down, and it's going to be very tough at this point for Cyclone to break out of it, just given the fact that now this TC is sort of holding a dominant position over the map, as opposed to his TC, which is among other things in Water Rage. But Cyclone, is starting hunt early. Not hunt, is starting trade early. I think because, he's just worried about the relative lack of gold, which is really smart on this map, to be honest, it's really smart. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see if he can come back into it. And Mexico Mike doing very well. He's worshiping Apollo. So that's a great start for him. Apollo will give him underworld passage, and will really allow him to close out this game, in my opinion. Chariot Archer's raiding, doing a little damage, nothing that you really can't stand. So we can see Cyclone with 108 pop. That's really not great.
Into you.
He is trying to raid and make use of it, but it ain't composing to Mexico Mike, who has pretty much everything and is almost ready. He's almost up Apollo. Well, his ups are okay, but it's more so that he's just in the dominant position, having survived the military assault so easily. And the problem is, even with equal town centers for Cyclone, his economy is just behind quite a bit, and this is allowing his Chinese opponents, and to stay popped. Excuse me, not Chinese. Mexico Mike is from Mexico. Excuse me. Yeah. So Mexico Mike is pushing in here, pushing, and the heavy chariots are fighting, and yeah, but it's unfortunate. We'll have to see what happens. Mexico Mike is pushing. We have chariot archers, but will Mexico Mike be able to? And it appears that it is a good game. Interesting. Seemed as though Cyclone was still in the game to me when he gave up, but perhaps he gave up. Just lost the psychological long game, which definitely important to keep in mind that mentality is really important. I will say though, it seemed like he was losing pretty strongly. Mexico Mike was definitely had the position of strength, and he was getting the fortress up, so siege would have come out soon. But yeah, I don't think Cyclone should have resigned quite so early. But again, it's always easier when you can see the game from bird's eye view. So thank you. Have a